As to putting a circle of salt around my Tesla makes it not move, let's try it. So basically all you do is put a ring of salt around a Tesla like this, and it's supposed to make it not drive. So we're going to test it out. I bought a ton of salt, filled this entire bowl up completely with salt. Felt really cool. Then I backed my Tesla into the middle of the cul-de-sac and poured the ring all the way around it until it looked like this. It was really weird. And now it was just time to test it and see if it actually worked, which it failed. So I put it in reverse and it also failed. So let me know what else I should try. So after testing the circle of salt around a Tesla trend and finding out it doesn't really work, people were still commenting wanting me to put the salt 4 feet away, all the way around the Tesla. So we have a bunch more salt and we measured 4 feet on each tire, marked a little bit of salt, and then started pouring it all the way around the Tesla like this, making thick lines and then even a dashed line all the way around that line. And it was now time to find out if the Tesla would be put to a stop. I got in and drove straight over the salt, and then I put it in reverse and autopilot. What happens when you run over a tiny rubber band ball? Today I wanted to test out a bunch of random stuff getting run over and see what would happen. I got a bunch of stuff at Walmart and also made this little aluminum ball. Starting with this stress ball, we're going to run it over and see what happens. And it completely popped it with the back tire. There was a bunch of white stuff that came out, and then I decided to do the bath bomb, which got shattered as well. Then silly string by this car, and it was really cool because it like kind of snaked out like this and destroyed the can. Then this ball, and then the tiny rubber band ball and the aluminum foil ball. The aluminum foil ball got completely flattened. Look at it. And last was the tiny rubber band ball, which I thought would hold up because it's a rubber band ball, and it did. It's perfect. Just flattened it a little. So one day, after trying and failing to completely fill this inflatable dome up with water, I said we would try again and fix everything that went wrong in a part 2 if the video got enough likes. So that's what we're gonna do. This time we'll be working on completely level ground using way more flex tape. My first task inside the dome was making sure everything was completely sealed off and ready for the water. My friend got this super powerful water gun and tried to shoot me. I just continued on doing my normal dome things, and then I saw my dog. I couldn't even pet her, she was so far. But I just stayed in the dome, hour on end, waiting for the water to fill up. I also patched this leak, and my brother got me Sonic because I was hungry. A corn dog never tasted so good. And then I heard the ice cream man. My friends got me ice cream. The guy said, "Subscribe to Dylan Ayres." I got a bomb pop. I broke it, but it was delicious. Meanwhile, I'd been in there for 3 hours and the water was actually expanding the dome instead of going up. The sun was coming down and it was about to rain, so we had to halt the water. So I stopped this leak with my tongue like this, did a cannonball, and tried to ride the waves on this whale. But time was up. I unzipped the dome and tried to ride out on my whale. This happened. So my giant rubber band ball started from placing rubber bands around a watermelon, and today I bought a really big pumpkin to see if I could make the same results. We had a ton of bands, dumped them out, but most of them were too small, so we could only use the colored bands, which we ran out. So we had to go to the store and get more. Then we kept on placing until eventually it collapsed. But it only left us with this hat and a boat. So one day someone commented saying I should fill this entire purple mattress grid up with all eggs. I'm only going to put about 60 eggs in there because I don't want to use that much food. I unzipped the mattress like this, and the purple grid is insanely cool. It looks like this and feels really awesome. I then opened up all the eggs and started placing them in. First one, and then a million more. Well, actually like 57 because 2 were broken, but yeah. I filled it as much as possible, and then it was time to fall on it and test them out. And the eggs did pretty good, so I got out my rubber band ball, but I couldn't even push it on, so I did another hop and then started stepping on the eggs like this, and it was crazy. They all just survived. So then I just punched one of the eggs like this and cracked it. Let me know what else I should try. This is my giant 1,600-pound rubber band ball, and as many of you know, it started from, an exploding watermelon. And for over the last 2 years, it's continued on past what I ever thought it would. Weighing over 1,600 pounds, we're on our way to a world record. Well, kinda, we're still like 8,000 pounds away, but the point is, this ball's come a long way, and it's only the beginning. Just kidding, because we're gonna completely destroy it. Yeah, just kidding again. It's indestructible. But the next part is part 100, and we're adding 100 pounds of rubber band. So stay tuned. So one day, after 2 years of taking this tiny rubber band ball that grew really big to the pawn shop guy to see what it would give me, and a bunch of other random stuff that most of the time didn't work out, I'm here to surprise the pawn guy with his very own tiny rubber band ball to pawn. This is how he reacted.
What's up, Dylan?
I have a new ball.
It's a nice little round ball.
I'm not trying to sell it or sell anything.
Really? What brings you in then?
Just wanted to give you this ball.
Sweet.
A gift, and a thank you for being in all my videos.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, so you can put it on one of these shelves and try to sell it. I then told him I wanted him to try to pawn it and see how much he could get for it.
How much you think you want to get out of it? How about $99.99? Let's find a spot to put it.
He actually had the perfect spot for it. Follow along to see how much it goes for. Full vid, link in bio. So you guys keep wanting me to add way more rubber bands to this giant rubber band trampoline I've been working on. So that was the plan. I was going to add even more rubber bands. But as soon as we got started, we noticed an issue. The metal was literally bending, and I was scared it was going to break. And I didn't want that to happen. So I bounced on it a few more times with my brother like this. We went really low, and then we started just disassembling the entire trampoline. It was really sad, but I didn't want it to hurt us, and the trampoline was fun while it lasted. Comment anything else we should turn this trampoline into, but now it's a trampoline. This is the first ever rubber band trampoline. 100 pounds of rubber bands on this trampoline frame. I'm gonna be getting on it and testing it out. It's hard to kind of get on because the bands are kind of scattered until you get to the center. And now we're gonna try bouncing. It's easier to bounce on like your back and your stomach because you cover more bands. The hard part when you go to stand up and bounce. Whoa, dude. So it's part 104 of building my 1,800-pound rubber band ball. And today, instead of just looping rubber bands, my brother and I decided to try and build the world's biggest rubber band. We made it super long, long enough to span across the street several times. Here it is all the way around, me speeding past it. Yeah, it's really long. I put it all in my car and then took it back home to place on the rubber band ball, which didn't take very long. And bam, just like that, 50 pounds of rubber bands on my ball. So one day last year when it was freezing, I tried to freeze these giant water balloons. And this year it's even more cold, so I got these 4 24-inch water balloons I'm also going to be trying to freeze overnight. I started by trying to thaw the hose to make sure the water would clearly move through, and then let this balloon fill all the way up and zip tied it in the freezing cold. Then we just had to do one more balloon for safety to make sure we got one that would actually freeze, and they both filled up like this. Then it was just time to wait overnight. We came back and one of them kind of broke and looked like this, so we just started smashing it for the funsies. Smashing ice is one of the most satisfying things. Then stabbing this frozen pool, moving on the pool, and opening this one. It went everywhere. So this is part 2 of trying to build a working trampoline out of saran wrap. So we put all the plastic on we could last time and only got this far, so I ordered a ton more on Amazon and we got busy. I was first focused on making the middle as strong as possible, then we made this little side thing, and eventually we started going the other way once we felt like it was strong enough to completely strengthen the entire trampoline. And it was working. The trampoline was feeling so strong. We added a bunch more until I felt ready to jump on the trampoline. And with the trampoline feeling really strong and sturdy, I got on and started bouncing, and it was completely stable and held my weight perfectly. And I even started bouncing like a normal trampoline. It was crazy, so like and let me know if I should add even more and see how far I can take this. So one day I bought a tiny inflatable bouncy house to float down the creek in. It was pretty bouncy and seemed like it would make a pretty good boat. I flipped inside of it like this, and then it was time to test it out. We took it to the creek, walked it all the way down over a bunch of rocks and stuff. I jumped in and I was off. I did it. I was floating down the creek in a miniature bouncy house. I bet my parents are proud. My goal was to make it all the way to the stronger current over here, but I got stuck, so I had to push it out. But after that, I was flying. The bouncy house was moving so fast. Then we approached this fallen tree that I actually made it through. And the bouncy house was a success. Comment what else I should try. So one day, after 2 years of taking this tiny rubber band ball to the pawn shop and a bunch of other random stuff, I was tired of being underpriced.
I don't think I'd give you $10 for it.
So I had a plan. I would stick it to the pawn shop and create my own pawn shop right in front of his, proving that all my stuff was really as valuable as I said it was. He was gonna regret rejecting all my offers. And now it was just time to sit there and wait for the customers to roll in. This isn't going as planned. And shortly later, the pawn guy came out.
Dude, what are you doing out here? Dylan's pawn?
I started my own pawn shop because you wouldn't buy anything from me.
Probably get arrested for not having a business license, tax license.
I didn't know what he was on about, so I just showed him my stuff.
Is this a new plunger?
A rubber band ball, my beautiful painting I made.
It's just as ugly as I remember it.
Got a Rubik's Cube.
It's not even solved.
Got this cool thing. It's like a punching bag.
You think you're going to be able to sell that?
I'm going to sell it for big money. And just as I was done showing him my stuff, he said this.
I'm thinking you're probably going to have to pack up and leave.
You don't want me here?
I'd probably give you $20 just to leave. I'll be here in 10 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. So one day, a while back, I made this trampoline out of rubber bands, and it was really cool until we destroyed it like this, and had to throw it away. But today I had the idea to recreate it with a big trampoline and even bigger rubber bands. We then got out a big pile of bands that we made into this giant loop, and it wasn't really working. So I realized I had to create a bunch of different strands of bands that perfectly stretched across the trampoline, which was a process. We looped all these rubber bands and then took them to the trampoline and started placing them on. And after a little while and a lot of bands, I tried to get on it, but it wasn't ready yet. So we continued until we had all the rubber bands placed completely on the trampoline, and then we tested it out. We couldn't believe it. It was actually holding us up perfectly, and it was super bouncy. It looked so cool underneath, and here's me on top of it. It felt like just a giant bouncy web. Then my girlfriend jumped on it and almost hit the bottom, and my brother almost fell through. So like if I should jump off the roof. So this is my rubber band ball, and here's the world record. My ball is currently 1,400 pounds and a long way from the record at 9,000 pounds, but we looped all these bands, 50 pounds to be exact, until it was finished, and then we were ready to place them on the ball to get it one step closer to the world record. And just by leaving a like on this video, you can help aid in the journey to beating the world record. Here I am rolling and then falling off the ball like this, and here's the ball in all of its awesomeness. So one day my brother and I wanted to compare the cheapest food in our town to the most expensive food in our town. We first went to McDonald's and my brother ordered off the dollar menu. We got a chicken sandwich and a small fry for like $4. And Jack enjoyed the fry. It was pretty good.
Fries, always good.
Then I started looking up fancy food places and found this place. I looked for the most expensive meal I could find and then I placed an order for pickup. It was $70. So I drove there and the place was actually super fancy. I felt really cool. There was these cool sculptures and it was just a really neat place. I waited in the car a little bit for my food and then they brought it out. I then took it home to try it out. I was about to eat the most expensive food I'd ever had. Pretty good, but $70 is a lot of money. It's Rubber Band Ball Part 102, and I placed a massive order for some rubber bands. Hello. We need tons of bands. I want over 1,000 pounds delivered ASAP. And now, after putting a big dent in my bank account, we have a ton of rubber bands on the way. But for now, we're going to place a normal box and just run through the normal process of looping a ton of bands onto the ball. Soon, we'll have enough bands to get the ball all the way to 3,000 pounds, which will be crazy to see how big and heavy it is because at 1,700 pounds, we can barely even move it. So stay tuned and like if you want to see me try to place all the bands in 24 hours. So one day, a while back, after bringing my rubber band ball to this pawn shop guy for a long time, I decided to surprise him with his own rubber band ball.
Sweet. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
This was about 6 months ago, and I told him he should put it up here and try to sell it for some money. And it's sat here for months until the other day when this guy came in.
Hey, what's up, Dr. Phil from Roper Kia? What's going on?
Oh, I'm living my best life. How
Good
are
to see
you?
you.
My kids are driving me nuts. There's
Okay.
some kid named Dylan off of TikTok who has these rubber band balls.
Oh, yeah. I got one. He gave me one last time he came in.
Perfect.
That's
Oh
it
my
right there.
gosh, this thing's heavy.
Oh, yeah, it's heavy.
This is it?
Check it out. It even bounces.
How much you want for it?
For $140, you can have that ball.
Sign me up.
Sweet.
Ready.
You got a deal.
20?
That's it. Perfect.
140.
Appreciate it, sir.
Yes, sir. Boom! Got the
And this
ball.
guy walked off with the ball
Your
forever.
license?
So this is part 2 of getting kicked out for dyeing my parents' pool red. After getting kicked out and turning this storm shelter into my new home, you guys commented saying that I should turn it into a gaming setup. And so today, to make the most out of living in here, that's what I'm gonna do. I came out of the storm cellar and then went to sneak back in to grab a TV and an Xbox. I stole this TV out of the spare bedroom and took it back to the storm shelter, and then I went back to grab this Xbox and Minecraft. And lastly, I just needed power, so I got multiple extension cords and hooked it up until I had my Xbox. I loaded an old world I hadn't played in forever, and I was actually playing Minecraft in the cellar. Let me know what else I should try. So it's part 98 of my over 1,500 pound rubber band ball. I ordered more bands at the price of $230. I recruited some help and then got out at looping all 50 pounds of bands to place on the ball. And this is the longest I've gone in between rubber band ball videos. Rubber bands have been pretty difficult to get lately, but as long as you guys keep liking and supporting these videos, I'll keep on adding more bands to the rubber band ball. We finished adding bands, threw some stuff, and then aired up this hamster ball. People wanted me to try to fit the ball in it, but I couldn't, so I threw it on top. Then I stood on the ball like this and hopped off. Like for me to keep going. So one day it was part 2 of making a working cardboard boat with a real motor. We flex sealed and great stuffed the entire cardboard boat, and the next day it looked ready to float. My friends and I loaded it up and took it out to the pond where we would test it out. The motor was spinning, we put it in the water, and I was off. After a little push from this oar, the boat was holding up amazingly well, and the engine was pushing me surprisingly really fast. I couldn't believe it. I'd made the first ever cardboard boat with an engine. Then this RC boat zoomed by me, and I conned the boat back to shore. So one day, to find out if there was really still watermelon trapped inside my giant rubber band ball, I made another rubber band ball with a watermelon. My goal was to cut it open after adding a bunch of bands to it and making it perfectly round, and then find out if there was watermelon inside. I made it into a ball like this, tested how bouncy it was, threw it in a pool, and apparently rubber band balls sink. So we got it out and then tried to cut it open with this, a sword, this saw, then these big lawn scissors, but nothing was working until I got this box knife. Don't try this at home, but eventually we got it all the way unraveled. And after making it completely to the center, I only saw tiny crumbs of watermelon. So everyone wants an update on the giant rubber band ball that started from a watermelon. It's now 1,700 pounds and I haven't worked on it in a while. I broke this glass thing trying to move it to the center of my garage to work on it because we have a ton more bands that we're going to use to place on the ball. We're going to be placing 25 pounds of bands in one sitting by looping them all into 2 separate strands like this. It takes quite a while to loop them all into strands, but it's pretty satisfying to watch. The bands just disappear until we got 2 giant piles. Look at it. And the ball is still a long ways away from the world record of 9,000 pounds, so let me know if you really want me to keep at this ball and try to break it. Because we still have so many more boxes of bands and more on the way, so like if you want me to keep going. So one day my friend invited me to see this cave deep inside their backyard. It was so crazy and it gave me the idea to put a gaming setup down there and play Minecraft inside a real cave. So I bought all the supplies necessary to make this possible. Then we put a ladder deep inside the cave and it was time to explore and find the perfect spot for my setup. When I got down inside the cave, it was insane. There was 2 tunnels on both sides I could go down. I went down this one, which led to this little opening where these stalagmites were that are supposed to be over 1,000,000 years old. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. So stay tuned for when we play Minecraft inside this cave. It's officially part 99 of my giant rubber band ball, and this is 50 more pounds of rubber bands that we're about to add on to the ball. We start by looping all the bands together like this, which is the longest part. We sit there for what feels like an eternity, just looping band after band after band until the pile is completely empty. We're almost to rubber band ball part 100, which is crazy, and for part 100 we're going to be placing 100 pounds on the rubber band ball. And we finished up these 2 25-pound strands like this until the ball was finished. Weighing literally 1,600 pounds, it almost took out my tripod. One day, a while back, I tried to smash this giant water balloon with my giant 1,700-pound rubber band ball, but failed until the small rubber band ball took it out. Today, I have another giant water balloon, and I'm going to see what all random items I can use to try and break it. I got a llama, a watermelon, a pumpkin, and a bunch of other random junk, and then started filling the balloon all the way up like this. Eventually, the balloon was full, and it was time to test it out with the plunger, which didn't break, but it did suction. Then this llama that just broke. I then threw the pumpkin that surprisingly didn't do anything, and this tiny rubber band ball, and this water balloon. Then my watermelon didn't do anything either and was perfectly intact. The balloon was holding up really well, so I threw this hoverboard at it, and then I broke out the shovel. Yeah, like this video if you want to see me try with the giant rubber band ball again. So one day, people commented on my last TikTok telling me to go dumpster diving and take whatever I find to the pawn shop. And I wasn't really finding anything, went to this bookstore, didn't find any books. Then I went to this dumpster, hopped in, and started digging around until eventually, after hours of dumpster diving, I found a Star Wars Pez dispenser that I took to the pawn shop. I walked in the store and he said,
What in the world is that?
I've had this for a very long time. One of a kind Star Wars Pez dispenser.
Wow, that is pretty cool. No candy in it. Do you eat all the candy? It's worthless.
You just gotta buy the candy. I mean, it's a collectible. And then he asked me how much.
What do you think it might be worth?
$30.
How long have you had it?
Like, years.
Oh, is it like this one?
Then he started comparing it to ones on eBay.
Pez dispenser. You sure you didn't buy this on eBay for 99 cents?
That one looks different. I then did my best to convince him the true value of it.
I'd probably give you 50 cents because I think it's kind of cool.
And I knew I had to do it. He gave me the 50 cents and I used half of it for these Skittles. I was a winner after all.
I got my money back.
So one day I decided to test a new method of doing DoorDash delivery. With FaZe launching their FaZe subs, I wanted to see if we could make them fly and deliver them through a drone. All you would have to do is stand there and wait for your food to fly in. But during the first test, the bag caught wind and flew about a mile away. It eventually came back, but then flew away again, so we had to hunt it down and we found it in this tree. Yeah, it was really high and I knew one thing. I cannot let that sandwich go. I had to do everything in my ability to get the FaZe sub back. My first idea was just to climb the tree. I used to do it all the time, but I realized it was too high, so I got out this really long stick, which wasn't quite long enough. And with rain coming, we had to get the sandwich out soon. My friend Joe had an idea. He knew this professional tree climber who could climb the tree and save my sandwich and my drone. This guy was crazy. He was the best tree climber I'd ever seen, but after long struggle, he couldn't quite get to it. But with a stroke of luck, the bag was ripped, so we went on the other side and found the sandwich on the ground, and it was still amazing. Boston.